I don't want you to be safe, ideologically. I don't want you to be safe emotionally. I want you to be strong. That's different. I'm not going to pave the jungle for you. Put on some boots and learn how to deal with adversity. I'm not going to take all the weights out of the gym. That's the whole point of the gym. This is the gym.
That was Van Jones, a civil rights advocate, New York Times best-selling author, and formerly Barack Obama's special advisor for green jobs. Here he is speaking to David Axelrod on the current state of politics in America. His message highlights the importance of building strength and resilience in our children, and it unexpectedly sets the stage for today's topic, the benefits of free play. In our last video, I promised we would look deeper into why allowing our children to play freely is so crucial for their development. Today we will explore this and draw insights from Peter Gray's Free to Learn and some real-life experiences. Here is a summary of the key benefits of free play. Promotes creativity and imagination, enhances social skills, supports emotional development, improves physical health, and fosters independence and self-confidence. Let's go deeper into some of these points. Free play is unstructured, voluntary, and child-initiated. It is different from structured activities we often organize for our kids, such as after-school sports or tutoring. Gray argues lack of free play may not kill the physical body, as a lack of food, air, or water, but it kills the spirit and stunts mental growth. Free play is the means by which children learn to make friends, overcome their fears, solve their own problems, and generally take control of their own lives. But there is more to it. Let's take a look at some additional insights. Take a look at this 1979 school checklist, which included life skills. The first 2 points are the most interesting. 1. Can the child walk to school alone? And 2. Can the child go to the store on their own? These are things that would probably get Child Protective Services called on parents. Today, the focus has largely shifted to academics. This shift has significant implications for our children's development. For example, let's take a look at a checklist today. Scholastic.com states, first grade is packed with important and exciting transitions as children leave behind much of the play of preschool and kindergarten and begin to develop more academic skills. The website goes on to talk about the challenges of adjusting to a more academic classroom. Kids are expected to understand digraphs, the magic E rule, write with structure, and even do some poetry. This is a large shift to academics. These checklists today put pressure on parents to ensure that their kid is ready for school, and sometimes these pressures can lead to overparenting. Peter Gray, in Free to Learn, talks about the shift from an internal locus of control, represented in the 1950s, to an external locus of today. This change has contributed to rising levels of depression and anxiety among children. By giving labels on students and taking control of their learning, it allows both child and parent to often blame external factors for any perceived shortcomings. This is a topic we will go into detail later. As parents, finding the balance between overparenting and underparenting is challenging. I am guilty of this myself when raising Sia. When she was really young, Sia was at the playground, just starting to talk and learning to play with others. Her main way to play at the time was to run after other kids or have them run after her. One day, she walked up to 2 older girls and tried to play, wanting to hold hands. One of the girls threw her hands down and screamed no at her. I saw Sia's confused and hurt face and my heart sank. I wanted to protect her and bring her away. I coped by thinking that it was almost time to go home anyways, so we could get away from this negative experience by leaving a bit earlier than expected. This was to appease myself though, not her. I tried to lead Sia to the car, but she got upset and ran off. In the beginning, Sia sat by herself for a while. Then she started to play by herself again. Eventually, one of the girls who hadn't rejected her joined her, and before long, all 3 girls were playing together. When we said goodbye, the one that initially rejected her said that she hoped to see Sia again. So, I made a huge mistake by trying to leave the situation, and Sia learned more about playing with others that day than I could have ever taught her by being selfish and intervening. This particular experience made me more aware of the importance of letting her work out problems on her own. However, it is still hard not to intervene, especially when other parents have varying levels of sensitivity. I often get nervous if Sia misbehaves and affects another child, and I fear judgment from the other parent if I don't intervene. It is still a learning process, but I hope we as parents can start letting our kids figure it out more often. Sia's only choices of playgrounds around us are structured. This is a picture of what we would typically see, what all of us would see, frankly. A structured and safe environment. Adventure playgrounds, on the other hand, are interesting examples of places where children can engage in free play. These playgrounds are unstructured and provide a space for kids to take risks, solve problems, and interact with their peers in a setting designed for exploration and creativity. In true adventure playgrounds, parents are not allowed in these areas, but there are trained wardens that are constantly risk assessing while the kids play. These play wardens are not there to interfere, but to assess and guide. The idea is that without structure, kids are able to freely play in their own way and help create and shape the environment to their liking. By adding risk, children are more prone to scrapes and bruises, but are also able to adapt and take those lessons into real life and be better at assessing risk. This is the type of place I would love to bring my daughter to if I had the chance. Being taken out of the equation to potentially interfere would be a relief, and I would also know that like-minded parents would also have the burden lifted as well. If anyone watching this has experience bringing their child to an adventure playground, please comment. I would love to hear your thoughts, both positive and negative. Let's look at education now. I've seen parents rely solely on educators and get angry when they don't get the results that they want. This reliance can have negative outcomes for both the parents and the children. I've had meetings with parents where they proudly show their child's after-school schedule, and every single day is full of tutoring, gymnastics, art, STEM classes, and so on. I've even seen structured infant and sensory walking classes in Asia. An interesting aspect is that some of these classes are feeder programs to get their child into prestigious schools. They start from infancy, and the stress of keeping up with these schedules can be overwhelming. Unfortunately, I've also witnessed multiple kids break down in front of everyone because of this. As a result, some parents do back off and make necessary adjustments, but I've also seen parents push forward and demand more despite the kids' cries. I frequently wonder how some of these kids are doing today. Peter Gray often emphasizes how free play, not adult interference, contributes to learning and overall well-being. He discusses the impact of observation and evaluation on learning and creativity. For example, closer observation causes experts to perform even better, but it has the opposite effect on novices. When the task involves creative thought, or the learning of a difficult skill, the presence of an observer or evaluator, especially if the evaluation is consequential, greatly inhibits learning. This applies to schools as well. Due to constant evaluation and monitoring of a student's performance, schools seem to be ideally designed to boost the performances of those who are already good while interfering with the learning of others. I've seen this firsthand. Every summer, I get a high number of parents asking me to help prepare their preschool or kindergarten-aged child to prepare for school, wanting them to be ready and ahead. They want their child to be evaluated well and show off their skills that they learned over the summer. However, this constant evaluation wedges those who know from those who don't, taking away the true learning aspect of school and stifling creativity. Gray outlines 4 conclusions about the power of play. 1. Pressure to perform well interferes with new learning. Novices trying to perform a skill often do worse when being watched or evaluated. This connects well with what I've seen personally from parents that want their kids to get a head start and be evaluated well over their peers. 2. Pressure to be creative interferes with creativity. Incentives and interference reduce the creativity, as high incentive seems to mess up the mental conditions needed for creative sparks. 3. Inducing a playful mood improves creativity and insightful problem solving. Experiments such as Dunker's candle problem showed higher problem solving success rates when participants were in playful conditions, such as watching a comedy for 5 minutes before doing the problem, compared to serious conditions. I will provide a link in the description for extra context. And 4. A playful state of mind enables young children to solve logic problems. For instance, children solve syllogisms like all cats bark, muffins is a cat, Does muffins bark? More effectively when presented in a playful tone versus a serious tone. Reading this book, researching areas of free play, and personal reflection has been a learning experience. I am not saying we should drop our current system and let our kids run wild. However, I would like to encourage everyone to reflect on times when they themselves or their child has been in a situation where they needed to figure it out on their own, to see what those experiences were like and how we might have felt accomplished through that conflict. I come from a culture that demands academic excellence. For me growing up, spanking and physical punishment were often the consequences of not getting good grades. I also went to a great school with high expectations. I did lots of tutoring, music lessons, and other after-school activities. Some I enjoyed, but I was mostly unmotivated, so the help I was receiving wasn't as effective as it could have been, since I wasn't really bought in. That said, I also remember my early years of living beside a creek and constantly being outside. There was lots of exploring, catching bugs, and knocking on neighbors' doors to see if their kid wanted to play. No parents were around that time, and we engaged in what many would consider today as very risky play. As I got older, I remember organizing street hockey every Sunday with the neighborhood kids. We played a lot, we fought a lot, but we reconciled. Those are fond memories, and it seems like those days are gone and replaced with organized activities. I wonder if it's possible to get some of those days back. The thing is that it wasn't always that great. Before I was 8 years old, I experienced a broken nose, fractures, and multiple black eyes. If Sia were to experience this, I honestly can't say I would be okay with it either. At the same time, I think about Peter Gray's quote about the lack of free play killing the spirit and mental growth of kids today. I want to end this video with the last part of a speech from Alex Elliott Lockhart during a TEDx conference. I think he gives us parents great advice and something to think about. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
We obviously have a duty to our children to protect them and to protect the spaces in which they can play. But we also they have a right to play, which doesn't mean us watching over them all the time. And it certainly doesn't mean measurement and assessment. Because play is simple. For our children, it's innate. Our interference adds no value at all. What we need to do is we need to step back, give ourselves a break, and let our children just do what comes naturally, which is to play. Thank you very much.